You are not going to believe what I built on this wall for less than the cost of one single takeout meal. And I mean that literally. Every single piece you are about to see looks like it was pulled straight from a boutique garden shop. You know the kind. The ones where you walk in, fall completely in love with everything on the shelves, reach for the price tag, and then quietly put it back and walk out pretending you were never interested. Yeah, that kind of store. But here is the truth. Every single idea in today's video came from Dollar Tree. Every single one. Welcome back to The Lazy Gardener. I am so glad you are here today because this one is genuinely special. Here on this channel, we have one golden rule. Lazy gardening does not mean low effort. It means smart choices, budget-conscious decisions, getting the most beautiful, most impressive results with the least amount of waste, the least amount of money, and the absolute smartest use of the space and resources you already have. That is what we do here. And today, we are taking that philosophy to a whole new level. Today, I am walking you through 10 genius vertical garden hacks that turn the simplest, most affordable Dollar Tree supplies into designer-style living decor that will stop people in their tracks. Whether you have got a blank wall just sitting there doing absolutely nothing, a tiny balcony, a small patio, or even just a sunny window you have been completely ignoring as growing space, this video is going to change the way you see your home forever. I promise you that. Before we dive in, I want to hear from you right now in the comments. Tell me where you are watching from. Your city, your country, even just your climate zone if you know it. Every single comment on this channel gets read. Knowing where you are gardening helps me bring you ideas that actually work for your space, your season, and your specific situation. This community reaches further than most people realize, and it genuinely never stops surprising me. Drop your location below right now. I will be reading through the comments after this goes live. And if smart, budget-friendly garden ideas that look like they cost a fortune are your thing, make sure you are subscribed and that the notification bell is turned on. It takes literally 2 seconds, and it means you will never miss a single idea we drop on this channel. Alright, 10 hacks. Let us build something beautiful. Hack number 1. The wooden crate ladder wall. And I want to start here because this one sets the tone for everything we are doing today. The moment you see it styled on a wall, your very first instinct is going to be that someone spent serious money on that. The warmth of the wood, the texture, the layered height. It reads boutique farmhouse all day long. And it costs almost nothing to pull together. Grab a few small wooden crates or baskets from Dollar Tree and mount them on the wall in a staggered stair-step pattern. Now here is the detail that most people completely miss, and it is the detail that separates something that looks designed from something that just looks like it was hung on a wall. Do not line them up in a perfectly straight row. Shift each crate slightly higher than the last so the arrangement feels dynamic and intentional. That staggered movement is everything. Place lightweight nursery pots inside each crate rather than filling the crates directly with soil. That keeps the overall weight manageable, protects the wood from moisture damage over time, and makes swapping plants out completely effortless whenever you want to refresh the look for a new season. Here on The Lazy Gardener, we love a system that works smarter, not harder. And this one absolutely qualifies. Here is the single step that will transform this entire project before you even hang the first crate. Stain or whitewash all of them in the same tone beforehand. That one decision removes the raw craft store look and gives you something that genuinely feels custom-made and intentional. Add small chalkboard labels to the front of each crate with the plant names, and you have a styling detail that feels thoughtful and considered without costing you anything extra. Style the top tier with trailing plants that spill downward. Fill the lower tiers with fuller, more upright greenery for visual weight. The result is a layered vertical feature that functions as both living decor and practical plant storage while taking up exactly zero floor space. That is smart, lazy gardening at its finest. Hack number 2. The repurposed guttering planter wall. And this one is going to make you look twice because the finished result genuinely mimics those expensive magazine-style vertical gardens that people spend hundreds of dollars building. Except we are doing it for practically nothing. Instead of real guttering, which is heavy, expensive, and honestly a pain to work with, use long, narrow plastic storage trays or bins from Dollar Tree. Mount 3 to 4 of them horizontally on a fence or wall in staggered rows. Secure each tray with zip ties, jute twine, or screws depending on your surface. Fill them with trailing herbs, compact flowers, or small vegetables. And just like that, you have got a layered cascading wall garden that looks like a purpose-built installation. The staggered rows are doing the heavy design lifting here. They create movement and depth that makes the whole thing feel considered and planned rather than accidental. To make it look truly polished, paint the trays to match your wall or fence so they visually recede into the background and let the plants become the star of the entire display. For outdoor setups, drill a couple of small drainage holes and anchor the trays firmly against wind. When your plants start spilling over the edges and filling out those rows, the effect is lush, layered, and genuinely impressive. A living wall that looks far more elaborate than its humble Dollar Tree beginnings. Now I want to pause right here and put something to the comments because I think this one might start a real debate. Do you believe vertical gardening is something that only works in warm climates with big outdoor spaces? Or do you think it is just as achievable in a small apartment or a cold northern region where winters are brutal? Drop your honest answer below. There is no wrong answer here. I want both sides of this conversation represented, and I will be weighing in on the responses myself. Hack number 3. The hanging bottle hydroponic herb garden. And if you love the idea of fresh herbs in your kitchen but absolutely cannot stand the mess that comes with soil on your counters, this one is going to feel like the solution you have been waiting for your entire gardening life. Using clear glass bottles or bud vases from Dollar Tree, you create a suspended hydroponic herb display that looks clean, modern, and effortlessly styled. Think of the aesthetic you see in boutique cafes where herbs hang in glass vessels near a sunlit window. That is exactly the look, and it costs almost nothing. Hang the bottles at staggered heights near a sunny window using Overdoor hooks, a tension rod, or a mounted wooden dowel. Fill each bottle with water and place herb cuttings inside. Basil, mint, cilantro, and green onions all root beautifully in water and grow strong for weeks without any soil at all. The transparency of the glass lets you actually watch the roots develop over time, and that visible root growth adds a living, organic detail that makes the whole display feel genuinely alive in a way that potted plants simply cannot replicate. To keep everything secure, wrap the base of each herb stem loosely with a small piece of cotton or sponge so it sits properly at the neck of the bottle without slipping through. Add a small amount of liquid fertilizer every couple of weeks to keep the growth strong and healthy. And for an elevated finishing touch, tie a slim piece of raffia twine or a thin ribbon around each bottle neck. That tiny detail is what separates styled from improvised. It is the kind of small decision that lazy gardeners know makes all the difference. The result is a soil-free vertical herb garden that saves counter space, eliminates mess, and gives your kitchen that fresh, airy, designer feel that most people assume requires a complete renovation to achieve. Spoiler: it does not. It just requires a trip to Dollar Tree and about an afternoon of your time. Hack number 4. The shoe organizer pocket garden. This one is so clever that the first time I saw the finished result, I genuinely had to stop and think about what I was even looking at. Because it does not look like a shoe organizer anymore. Not even close. It looks like a professional vertical planting system. And the transformation is almost shocking given how simple and affordable the whole thing is. A hanging fabric shoe organizer becomes a full vertical garden wall the moment you fill each pocket with potting mix and a plant. Hang it securely on a fence, railing, or wall. Plant herbs, leafy greens, strawberries, or compact flowering annuals in each section. Suddenly that vertical surface is alive with greenery and productivity in a way that would have required an expensive custom system to replicate. This is especially powerful for renters, apartment dwellers, or anyone who does not have access to ground soil. You are not digging. You are not building. You are just hanging and planting. That is peak lazy gardening logic right there. To make it look intentional and styled rather than makeshift, organize your planting in rows. Use one plant type per row or stick to a consistent color palette across sections so the overall display feels cohesive and deliberate. If you are placing it indoors or on a covered balcony, poke small drainage holes at the bottom of each pocket and position a tray underneath to keep things clean. Once the plants fill out and start spilling slightly over the edges of each pocket, the organizer completely disappears visually. What you see instead is a lush, textured living wall that feels far more elevated than anything you would ever guess started its life as a shoe holder from a dollar store. This is a great moment to remind everyone who is watching that if you are not yet part of the Lazy Gardener community, we would absolutely love to have you here. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new idea. We are building something really exciting this season and you do not want to show up late to it. The best ideas are already in the pipeline. Hack number 5. The Stackable Planter Tower. This is the hack that consistently makes visitors stop and ask where you bought it. because the finished tower genuinely looks like something from a high-end garden center. And the secret has nothing to do with the materials. It is in two very specific details that most people either skip or never think to try. Take a sturdy garden stake or a piece of rebar and secure it firmly into the ground or into a heavy decorative pot filled with gravel for stability. Then stack 4 to 6 planters along the pole. And here is the detail that changes the entire project. Rotate each tier slightly as you stack so the planting pockets spiral outward as you go up. That single twist transforms a basic stack of pots into something that looks sculptural and genuinely intentional. The second detail is paint. Before you stack a single pot, spray paint every tier the same matte shade. Warm terracotta, soft sage, charcoal, matte black, whatever suits your space. When the color is unified, the structure reads as one cohesive piece rather than a collection of separate random parts. And that is what gives it that expensive, custom-made quality. This is exactly the kind of one-step upgrade that lazy gardeners live for. Minimum effort, maximum visual impact. Plant trailing herbs like thyme or creeping jenny along the outer edges so they cascade downward between the tiers. Tuck upright herbs like basil or parsley in the center pockets for fullness and height. You end up with a compact vertical garden that saves floor space, maximizes sunlight exposure, and looks lush and layered in a footprint of less than a single square foot. That is remarkable design efficiency at a price that genuinely makes no sense for how good it looks. Hack number 6. The upcycled colander hanging planter. And this one earns its place on this list because of how completely it surprises people who see it for the first time. Because the functionality that makes it work as a kitchen tool is the exact same functionality that makes it perfect as a planter. The drainage is already built in. You literally cannot buy a more perfectly pre-engineered planter. And that is the kind of accidental brilliance that lazy gardeners find deeply satisfying. Grab a metal or sturdy plastic colander from Dollar Tree and line the inside with coconut core liner or a layer of moss to keep the soil from slipping through the holes. Fill it with potting mix and your favorite trailing flowers or cascading greenery. Attach 3 equal lengths of chain or thick jute twine to the handles and connect them at the top with an S-hook. When you hang it up, you have a floating planter that looks far more intentional than anyone would ever guess from a pasta strainer. Every hole that once drained boiling water now serves as a drainage point that keeps roots healthy and prevents soggy soil. The colander actually outperforms many purpose-built hanging baskets. To take the finish to the next level, spray paint the colanders in a unified color before planting. Matte black for a modern edge. Soft white for a clean, minimal aesthetic. Antique gold for something bold and unexpected. Then hang 2 or 3 at varying heights to draw the eye upward and create that vertical layered interest on a porch, pergola, or fence. When the plants begin spilling over the edges and softening the shape of the colander, the original purpose becomes completely invisible. What you see is a dimensional layered display that adds height, movement, and genuine character to the space. All from a Dollar Tree kitchen aisle find that most people walk right past without a second look. Hack number 7. The tension rod window garden tower. And this one is specifically for every renter, apartment dweller, or homeowner who has stared at a large window and thought that vertical space is completely wasted, but I cannot drill into anything. This hack solves that problem entirely without touching a single wall. No drilling, no damage, no security deposit drama. Just clever, reversible design that works beautifully. Install 2 or 3 tension rods inside the window frame at staggered heights, spacing them evenly from top to bottom. Once they are secure, hang small lightweight pots using S-hooks, binder clips, or simple twine at varying heights along each rod. At first glance, the setup looks minimal. But the moment you fill each level with greenery and morning light begins streaming through the leaves, the window transforms into a living vertical garden that filters light beautifully and adds depth and life to the entire room. Choose plants with trailing or delicate foliage. Pothos, string of pearls, or soft ferns work beautifully because the light moves through them and creates that soft glowing effect that feels almost cinematic on a sunny morning. Keep the pot style and color consistent so the structure reads as intentional and curated rather than busy and crowded. What happens over time is remarkable. The tension rods visually disappear, and what you see is a floating tower of greenery framed by natural light. It stops being a plant setup. It becomes a living window installation that people genuinely ask about. Now here is a question I want to throw into the comments because I have a feeling this one might get heated. Which setting do you think vertical gardens look more impressive in? Indoors near a window, or outdoors on a wall or fence? Tell me where you stand and tell me why. I want to see both sides of this debate, and I fully expect there will be strong opinions on both ends. Let us hear them. Hack number 8. The painted terracotta mosaic wall panel. And this one earns its place on the list because of how completely it confuses people who see it for the first time. It does not look like a DIY project. It does not look like terracotta pots glued to a board. It looks like a piece of architectural wall art that just happens to be alive. And the gap between what it looks like and what it actually is represents everything the lazy gardener stands for. Start with a wooden plaque or sturdy foam board as your base. Arrange small terracotta pots in a clean grid or geometric pattern and glue them securely in place before the plants go in. Then here is the step that makes all the difference. Paint the entire piece as one unified surface. Board and pots together, all in the same color. That single decision is what transforms it from a craft project into something that reads as modern, deliberate, and designed. When the paint dries, plant small succulents or compact greenery in each pot. The texture of the terracotta, the geometry of the grid, and the living plants combine into a wall panel that reads as sculpture rather than gardening. For an elevated finish, add a thin metallic rim detail around each pot or use textured spray paint to give the surface depth and dimension. Keep the color palette simple and restrained so the plants remain the focal point rather than competing with a busy background. Mounted on an accent wall or covered outdoor space, this piece commands attention immediately because it is genuinely unexpected. And that element of surprise is the quality we are always chasing here on The Lazy Gardener. Results that nobody sees coming from a budget that nobody would believe. Hack number 9. The Overdoor hook botanical wall. This hack is specifically for blank walls that feel lifeless and uninviting but where you are not yet ready or willing to commit to permanent drilling or mounting. It is completely gentle on walls, totally reversible, and when it is styled well, it looks like deliberate, curated living artwork rather than a temporary solution. Using Overdoor hooks, a curtain rod, or a simple wooden dowel, create a horizontal anchor point on or near your wall. Then hang small lightweight pots at varying heights using jute twine so they do not all sit in a rigid, uniform straight line. That variation in drop height is everything. It creates movement and dimension that makes the display feel organic and alive rather than flat and formulaic. Here is the most important rule for making this look designer rather than DIY. Restraint. 5 to 7 pots spaced with real intention will always look more elevated than packing every single inch of the rod with containers. Negative space is not emptiness. It is design. Lazy gardeners understand this instinctively. Give each plant room to breathe and the eye room to travel across the arrangement. Choose plants that naturally trail and drape. Pothose, ivy, and string of pearls do most of the styling work for you simply by following gravity. Keep pot colors consistent or within the same tonal family so the visual flow remains clean and unified. What you end up with is not just a place to keep plants. It is a vertical statement piece that turns an empty, forgettable wall into a soft living focal point that the entire room quietly organizes itself around. And hack number 10. The decorative trellis and climbing plant wall art. I saved this one for last because it is the showstopper. The one that makes guests reach for their phones to photograph it the moment they walk into the space. The one that looks like it belongs in a garden design magazine and is built entirely from Dollar Tree trellis panels. This is vertical gardening at its most expressive. And it costs next to nothing to execute. Take a few garden trellis panels and mount them flat on a wall in a geometric or slightly overlapping arrangement. Use small pots, twine, or clips to weave trailing plants through the grid, or secure them at the intersections. Even a single plant variety, ivy, pothose, or string of pearls, creates a dramatic and cohesive effect when layered across multiple panels. The repetition of the geometric grid combined with cascading organic greenery is what gives it that gallery installation quality. The contrast between the rigid structure and the living, organic growth is what makes it so visually arresting. Before you mount a single panel, paint them. Matte black creates a striking modern contrast against light walls. Antique brass adds warmth and a collected, curated feel. A soft neutral lets the plants completely dominate the visual. That paint step is what takes the project from Dollar Tree craft to something that looks professionally designed. It is the move that makes all the difference between something that looks homemade and something that looks intentional. Arrange the plants so some climb upward through the grid, some trail downward over the edges, and some fill compact pots anchored at the intersections for fullness and depth. The variety of movement, climbing, trailing, and filling, is what gives the installation its richness. And as the plants grow and mature over weeks and months, the installation evolves into a dynamic living artwork that combines texture, color, and organic form in a way that no static decor ever could. This is what smart, lazy gardening looks like when you push it all the way. And there you have it. 10 genius vertical garden hacks that transform ordinary dollar tree finds into stunning, designer-style living installations. From wooden crate ladder walls to hanging bottle hydroponics. From stackable towers to painted terracotta mosaic panels. From tension rod window gardens to trellis wall art that genuinely stops people mid-sentence. Every single idea on this list is budget-friendly, achievable this weekend, and visually impressive enough to make people ask who your garden designer is. Here is the thing I want you to take away from today, and it goes beyond any individual hack on this list. The size of your space does not determine the beauty of your garden. The budget in your pocket does not limit the creativity in your hands. What matters is how you choose to see the space you have and how willing you are to find potential where most people see nothing. That right there is the lazy gardener's philosophy, and we come back to it every single week on this channel. All 10 of these projects together cost less than $30. Let that actually sink in for a second. Less than a single dinner out and you have got a home that feels like a living, breathing, beautifully designed sanctuary. A space that reflects real creativity and real intention. Not a big budget, just a smart one. Now here is my final question for the comment section, and I genuinely want you to answer this one. Which of these 10 hacks are you most excited to try first? And are you planning to take it indoors or outdoors? Tell me your specific plan. Tell me your space. I want to see what this community actually goes out and creates, because knowing your vision helps me bring you better and more relevant ideas every single week. If this video gave you even one idea you are going to use, please give it a thumbs up right now. It takes you 1 second, and it genuinely helps this video reach more gardeners who need exactly this kind of inspiration. Share it with someone who has a blank wall or a tiny balcony that deserves so much more than it is currently getting. They will thank you for it later. And if you are not yet subscribed to The Lazy Gardener, now is the time. We are building one of the most warm, practical, and genuinely creative gardening communities anywhere on this platform. A community where smart choices beat big budgets every single time. Where lazy means clever. Where every gardener, regardless of experience level, space size, or wallet thickness, has something valuable to bring to the table. And there is absolutely a seat here for you. Until next time, garden smarter, not harder. And I will see you in the next one.